Go ahead.
Good morning and welcome to our webinar today. I'm going to wait just a few minutes as people start jumping into the room. Everybody who was on hold is now filing in, so I'll give y'all a few minutes and then we'll get started. Okay, the number of people filing in has slowed down, so Joel, whenever you're ready, take it away.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It's September 22nd, and where I am, it is a rainy, chill fall day, which I'm very excited about. And today we're going to be talking mostly about Strive and the virtual T-TESS. So we're very excited to finally be able to bring this content to you. You may remember and you may have registered before for a session that we were going to talk about this earlier, and we had to cancel because the TEA had not released their virtual T-TESS documentation yet. So now we have it. It's been released. It's available on the Teach for Texas website, and it's also available as a resource in our Eduphoria community that we'll be talking about later today. So let's go ahead and continue forward. My name is Joel Atkins. I'm the Digital Learning Coordinator. I am joined by this incredible team. Paige, who you heard kind of introducing everything. She's the Senior Professional Learning Coach. Shanna James is also joining us. She's a Product Manager over Evaluation and Professional Learning. And Alisha Thomas, she's one of our new hires. She's a Professional Learning Specialist. She's been on some of these webinars before, but welcome everybody, and we are glad you're here and joining us today. So we have a Q&A window. You're welcome to post questions or comments on today's topic in there, and one of us will try to answer those questions as they come in. If it's a question that we think would be special for the entire audience, we'll share that with whoever is speaking to cover that information for the whole group. So feel free to interact with us in the Q&A. And again, like I said, when you post questions in there, we will try to answer them as best we can, or we'll refer you to contact us through training@eduphoria.net to get more detailed response from you, or if it's something we need to delve in deeper for your specific situation, we can do that. At any point, if you have questions, and maybe we're not answering those questions in this webinar today, you can always email us at training@eduphoria.net for that information. And I want to talk about something that is coming up, that is something that we are working on called Edufest. And we have sent emails out about this, and I also want to cover information about it for you. So Edufest is our first virtual conference. It is a conference for leadership. And the things that we're doing in there are not necessarily like the click, click, click inside of an application, but more of like conversations for thought leadership. It's taking place on October 12th. It is a completely virtual conference, and it means that you don't have to participate live with us on that day. You're welcome to. We know some districts have that day off as a professional development day, and other districts have changed their schedules where that day is not a professional development day. But it being a virtual conference, you can register and get a seat, and you don't have to participate live. You'll get all the content after the conference takes place. So for everyone who registers, they're going to have access not only to the sessions that they participated in or attended or didn't attend because they couldn't that day, they'll have access to all the content, all the strands, all the sessions that are going on for that day. And I'm just going to take you real quick to our website, which was linked on that slide there too. And this is the Edufest website. It has a countdown clock that kind of makes, I think, all of us nervous that are going to be presenting and getting ready for this. And the link to buy tickets is up here. But I wanted to show the categories specifically because I think this kind of goes over the different types of topics that we're going to be addressing during Edufest. And so if you're looking at this and going, oh my gosh, I'm interested in so many of those topics, then you should register to attend. And like I said, you will be able to access all of the content that we're providing on all of these threads, all these strands. And if you're able to attend live, you can be participatory in the sessions. We're going to be interactive. We even have some roundtables where we're asking everybody who is attending to share in the conversations that we're going to be having. So it's going to be a really good conference, really in depth. And if you think about the team, like if you've attended other webinars over the years, just think about what this team knows in best practice implementation. I know Paige specifically has implemented over like 400 districts in her time of using educator growth and professional learning and curriculum management. So just thinking about the type of team that we have and the type of conversations that we can lead and grow and share would be valuable for you and your teams, your thought leadership to participate in as well. So that is Edufest. We have emails that have gone out about it. And we also have that link there, which is edufest.eduphoria.com if you would like some more information about that. So what are we covering today outside of what I just covered? Paige and the team and Shanna and also Alisha will be sharing about the new virtual T-TESS rubric. Again, that was released by TEA this month. We're also going to show you how to find and import the templates that are available in our Eduphoria community. So give a little applause to Paige and Alisha for working on those. And then how you can add those virtual templates to your process. And then also kind of going over what are those new Lookfors that are outlined in the virtual T-TESS. So all of this is going to be covered today. And I'm going to hand out, or not hand out, but I'm going to hand over control to Miss Paige. You ready, Paige?
I'm ready.
All right. It's
And
yours.
hopefully I am sharing.
You are.
Awesome. Okay. Good morning, everybody. And as Joel said, we're going to be talking about the new virtual T-TESS evaluations that have come from the TEA. So I'm going to start, if my mouse wants to click, there we go. I'm going to start by showing you where you can find that information. It's on the Teach for Texas website, teachfortexas.org. And for a long time, it was a coming soon, and now it is here. So you can come here and download the new rubric if you want to. And it keeps the same framework that we had before. So the dimensions are the same. They have tweaked the language just a little bit. So you'll notice in the questions on the templates that we're going to show today, there's a slightly different language there in the questions because it does include virtual. But the primary difference is in the Lookfors and the distinguished, accomplished descriptions. So you'll see a slight difference there as well, but they created this new rubric to include all of the things that teachers are doing now in the virtual classroom. So you can go to the Teach for Texas website and download that rubric to see the whole thing. What we're going to be showing you today is how we used that rubric to create new templates that your appraisers can use. So the first thing we're going to talk about is finding and importing those new templates. And this process hopefully is familiar to some of you. We've put those templates out in the Eduphoria community. So if you are logged in as an administrator, you can go to the community and then click on whichever folder you need to get into and then find that document. And I'm going to switch over and do that live just so that everyone can see. So I'm going to go into Strive. And I will go into the appraisal settings. And on the left-hand side in that navigation panel, you will see the Eduphoria community. And when I go there, the first thing that I like to do is click on this little green circle of arrows up here. That is the refresh documents button. And if you have not clicked that since we put these out here, and I put them out last night. So if you haven't clicked today, then you won't be seeing those documents. So be sure that you do a refresh, and then you can go into the folder and you will find the new virtual T-TESS observation that's based on the rubric from TEA. And so this is what that document looks like. It's just like our other observation document in that it has the dimension, it has a place for evidence, and it has a place for that rating. One of the things that we did change is this language is slightly different. You'll notice it says the design of virtual learning lessons is clear. So that's a slight difference from what the other one said, but then also we have added the Lookfors. So these are the things that are really different in this document, that when they're making this evaluation, they're looking at all of these things. And we'll go over those Lookfors a little bit later, but we put them into the observation document so that the appraisers will be able to see them as they're doing this document. So what all are you looking for? Well, we have 3 different documents out there. One is in the observation folder, and it is this virtual T-TESS observation. Once you find it, you'll just click on the import template button, and that's going to put it in your system. It always throws you back to your system when you import a document, so then you'll have to come back to the community again and go into the next folder in order to find the next document. But the 3 documents you're going to look for are the observation document, which is there, and then in the summative folder, we have a summative version. Looks exactly like the observation document does, just like our regular observation and summative look exactly the same, but they're set up so that when you're doing the summative, you can see that observation document in the summative panel. So they will be connected in that way. And then we also have a walkthrough document that is in the walkthrough folder. The walkthrough document is very similar to the 3-column walkthrough that we've had in the past, but you'll notice that the Lookfors are the new Lookfors, virtual Lookfors that were created by the TEA. So this document looks a little bit longer than it did in the past because there are more now in the virtual rubric than there were in the regular rubric. So I'm going to jump back over to my slides to say, I want to remind you, these are the templates that we have created for you. There is an observation, there's a summative, and there's a walkthrough. At this point, you may only need the walkthrough, and you may only want to download the walkthrough. It's going to sort of depend on what is happening in your district as to where you go from here. Some of your administrators will be doing virtual walkthroughs now, but by the time they come to do the observation, you may be back to regular face-to-face classes and not need the virtual observation. Other districts may stay partially virtual all year long. We don't really know where things are going. So we have all 3 documents out there. You can download all 3 now, but then you can connect them up when you need them. And that won't be a problem. If you decide that you don't need the summative, that you're back to regular by that time, then that's fine. But those are the documents that are out there. Okay, once you have added them into your system, you've gone in and gotten them out of the community, then you need to add them to your process. So I'm going to go back into the system and I'm going to say appraisee types, and I'm going to go into one of my appraisee types here. And so I have my process that's outlined, and when I go to walkthroughs, and I'm going to click on my walkthroughs here, I want to see all of the choices that I have. I'm using 3 different choices in my district. I'm using that regular face-to-face 3-column grid document that we have created, and it's been out there for a while. And I also have 2 comment box type templates, one for domain 2 and one for domain 3. So my appraisers have those 3 options, but I'm also going to check the virtual walkthrough template. So now they will have 4 options, and if they're doing a face-to-face, they can still use these templates. If they're doing a virtual session, they can use this one. And if we switch back to all face-to-face later on, then I can uncheck this later if I need to. But right now, I want them to have access to it. So I'm going to make sure that that box is checked along with my others, and I'm going to click Update. And I would do the same thing for my observation process and for my end of year conference. If I'm ready to go ahead and do that, I would go into formal observation, click on my observation folder, and I want to find that virtual one, and there it's checked. So if my district is doing, some teachers are doing face-to-face and some are doing virtual, I would need to have both of those observation documents available to those administrators. So I'll leave them both checked and click Update. And then I would do the same thing for my summative, come down to my summative rating and find the virtual summative. And again, I'm going to leave the other one in there as well, because if I have some that are doing face-to-face, they still have that original document. And I'll click Update to that. Now I have made 3 changes to my process, and I've already got some people out there who have probably started walkthroughs, and we've got some processes in play. So I need to be sure that I click the Save button up at the top, and then I'm going to click this button that says Update Existing Process Instances. And what that does is any teacher that's being evaluated under this process that I just updated will get those new templates applied to them. So whenever an appraiser goes in to do a walkthrough or an observation on that teacher, they will have these new templates. So I always want to make sure that I click that button, and it's going to tell you that it could potentially cause data loss. We are not deleting or moving any questions. The only thing that you're doing is adding additional documents. So that's okay. And it usually takes a few seconds before it flashes, because that was my demo site, it doesn't have many to update. So you'll see that update happen, and then you're ready to go. And when we go to a campus view now, and I go look for someone who is being evaluated with that process, and I go to do a walkthrough on them, when I start a new walkthrough, I will have that virtual walkthrough as a choice for me to use when I do a walkthrough on that person. So by adding those documents in there, you give your administrators that choice. And this is that new virtual one, and you'll see some of these items that are new to you here in the list. We are not recommending that you create any new appraisal processes, no new appraisee types or anything like that. Just add the templates in as options in your existing process, and they can be added now and removed later if you're no longer using them, but those documents will be there if you need them. Any questions at this point?
I was going to say we've had a few questions, but I've been able to answer them. One of the first ones was just, can you show how to access the Eduphoria community and how to refresh?
And do I need to do that again just as a reminder?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go back to appraisal settings, and when you're in as an administrator and you're in appraisal settings, you will see the Eduphoria community listed over here underneath where you normally go to do your template and appraisee type work. If you go down a couple of spots, you'll see Eduphoria community. And when you click on that, you'll see all of our folders, but up at the top, this little green circle of arrows, that's the refresh button. And so I'm going to click on that, and it refreshed really quickly this time because I did it. I've actually done it several times today already. But if you haven't been there in a while, it will take a few seconds for that to refresh because it's going out and finding all the new documents that have been added since the last time you were there. So if you go into the folder and you don't see that virtual document, make sure you click that refresh button, and that should bring it in for you, because we do have it out there, and as long as you've refreshed, you should be able to see it. Okay, the virtual Lookfors. I want to talk about the differences just a little bit. So we did put the information out here, a comparison document. I've taken all of the traditional Lookfors that were on our documents before that came out in the original T-TESS process and put them side by side with the virtual Lookfors. So you'll see that this one says content standards and content are aligned. And over here we have lesson plans that address the content standards and other fully developed lesson elements. Those two are pretty much the same. This is a little more, descriptive. Didn't mean to click on that right away, but here we go anyway. So I've put a link out there on that page, and it goes to this document that is published, so you can get to it after the session if you want to. That short link is, it's a bit.ly, and it's virtual_Lookfors. So you can find that document by clicking on that link, and it's going to look like this. So you'll notice that they did include everything that was originally in the Lookfors is going to be over here, but it's just written a little bit differently in some cases, and it's definitely expanded to include some specific virtual elements. So like for example, lesson structure and pacing, we have over on the original sequential, relevant, well-paced lesson plans, but here it's saying pacing is aligned to virtual best practices. So they're including that virtual here. They also talk about the LMS systems, digital question and answer formats, digital organizers, and then students' use of e-safety. So they're talking about digital skills and netiquette and cyber safety in these virtual Lookfors as well. On 1.2, informal and formal assessments, consistent feedback, analyze student data, all of those things are here. We've got data monitoring and tracking. We've got varied data sources. So all of that is there, but they also include LMS systems, analysis of virtual instructional strategies, proven virtual strategies, and then regular contact with students, parents, families, and school personnel. So there is consistent feedback listed here, but I think they're trying to emphasize it a little bit more in the virtual classroom, that communication is important. And again, on 1.3, you'll see they've got things about connecting prior knowledge, adjusting instructional gaps and strengths, and utilizing individual learning patterns. We've got all of those things, but it's a little more specific, both in the verbiage of each individual thing, but also trying to make it more relatable to the virtual classroom. They talk about synchronous and asynchronous learning and how you need to address the abilities of your students. Some kids are going to do better with synchronous than asynchronous, and vice versa. So keeping those things in mind when you're setting up and choosing your tools for virtual learning, I think, is all part of this new process system. So I'm not going to read these all to you, but I did want to point out that everything that's in the original T-TESS system is still there in the new Lookfors. They've just elaborated a little bit and included some additional elements to consider in the virtual classroom. So all of that is there in that document, and you can find it by going to this link. And that is all I have about bringing the templates in. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Hey, Paige, there's not questions. I just wanted to tell people we will be sending the link to the presentation out tomorrow when the email goes out from Zoom. So we'll have the link to this recording and also the link to this presentation. So for those of you that were needing access to the links or to the information, you'll have that.
Awesome. Thank you I forgot to mention that, so thank you. Well, if there aren't any other questions, and I hope they're not, because it's a simple process. I hope that's the reason there are not any additional questions. But if you do have questions after the fact, you can always email us at training@eduphoria.net. And if there aren't any questions to answer right now, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Alisha. Alisha, do you want me to keep driving, or do you want me to unshare and let you drive?
No, you're doing great. Go ahead and keep driving on
Okay.
that. And thank you so much. That was a lot of great information there. And so, just like Paige was saying, there are other opportunities for you to continue to get some more information about this. And if you go to our Zendesk, there you can see some of our documents for our walkthrough for virtual classroom evaluation and get some more information on that. And just really anything about Strive that you may want to explore a little bit more, you can get that
I'm gonna
there.
I'm gonna interrupt for just a second
Mhm.
because Joel, bless his heart, took this screenshot and changed it, and then I went in and changed the title of the article.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's now called what is it called? It is now called, I think, virtual evaluations, but it's still in the same place. New templates for virtual classroom evaluation. So
Perfect.
there it is right there. It has a slightly different name than on our screenshot, but it's in the same place right there under Strive Managers.
Awesome. Yes. And so, and then also, as Paige was saying, you can also email us any of questions that you have at training@eduphoria.net. If you want to show that page so they can see that. Yeah. So any questions you have on any topic, training@eduphoria.net. It's a great place where you can go. You can get your answer questions emailed back so we can definitely continue to support you. And then again, there's new TPESS. I know I saw some questions on just a moment ago about the TPESS. So the new TPESS is not required until next year. I know there are already some districts that are using that, so they can get some great practice in that, and you can definitely use it as well. We have it where you can find your directions for setting things up here at this link. And if you, again, if you have any questions on getting that set up and using the new TPESS this school year, again, it's not required. You can, and that's where you can go again at training@eduphoria.net to get some of those questions answered to be able to use that this school year. And so we also have some an additional announcements. You can definitely get on our company email, our social media to see those announcements that are upcoming. Just as Joel said earlier, we have a great Edufest that's coming up next month. We'd love for you guys to join us there, either in person or live on virtual, or you can just again connect with us afterwards and get access to that if you register. So we love to see you. Also love for you to connect with us again through these different platforms so you can stay up to speed on what's going on with Eduphoria and new updates. And thank you guys. Any additional questions, any last minute questions that you guys have that we can answer for you? We'd love to do that and take that time right now to wrap up any questions. Huh? All right. Well, I
I
think
do
that's it. Go ahead,
I
Paige.
do see one question in there. Someone asked that a teacher asked if the rubric is more for synchronous teachers, and actually, it's for both. It's for if you're using an LMS or if you're using Google Classroom and you're doing asynchronous learning, there are elements in the new rubric for that, but there are also some elements in there if you're using Zoom or Google Meet. So I think both are included in the rubric, and that's something that for teachers to look at. You might want to share that rubric link out, the one that TEA put out with your teachers, and let them see what it's going to look like, and then your appraisers will have access to those documents in the system. The original URL for the, which one did I do in bit? Yeah, I will put the original URL on there before Joel shares the slides. So if Bitly is blocked by a district. So I'll put the original URL. It's just really long. So I'll put it on that slide before Joel shares it out.
I think there's a couple of more questions too. Are we going to get this presentation in a recorded form?
Yes, the recording will be anytime you attend or even just register for one of our webinars, you'll receive an email, a follow-up email. It comes about 24 hours after the webinar takes place. That's something that Zoom sets up. We don't have control over the timing, but you will get a link to the video itself, a recorded video, and also a link to this presentation, to the slides that you've seen today. So you'll have the links in the slides.
Gotcha. And this is another great question. I know that some of the districts block that type of URL. Is there any other way that we are going to provide that information, like a direct link or anything, or original URL?
Yes, I will put that direct link on the slide that before I give it to Joel to put out for y'all. So you'll have both links,
Perfect.
the short and the long. All right. Well, thank y'all very much for your time this morning. And again, if you have questions that come up later on, let us know at training@eduphoria.net.
All right.
Have a great week.